Every week between now and Election Day on November 5th, we are going to take on an issue that is on the statewide ballot or a local measure. Petitions, as we've talked about, are still being checked for many of the proposed ballot initiatives, but Initiative 89 is all set. That is a statewide ballot measure to enshrine abortion access into the Colorado Constitution. I will start with you, Alton.
Yeah, because of the fact that the Dobbs decision kicked everything back to the states, there's a movement afoot to make sure that that right is not baked as a cake, but actually put into concrete. So I use the example of Tabor as something that once it goes into the Constitution, it's staying. And another thing, back to our former president, have you noticed how he's been sort of downplaying and saying, well, abortion is not really an issue. There's not anything that's a big issue. It's the states, et cetera. We understand the ramifications of that, but then you're also seeing the headlines about how our nonprofits that provide the health services are starting to drown into the volume of people coming from other states. So Colorado has always sort of led on this issue, but by baking this into the Constitution, if it passes, then we're really going to lead the nation.
Okay, Carlos, your thoughts?
I read an article in Axios about one of our organizations here in Colorado, Color, who does a lot of reproductive rights advocacy and education in the Latino community. And I happen to know the organization as well. But one of the strategies that they're doing is they're incorporating getting people to get out to vote with this bill and ensuring that people have the right to an abortion and a pregnancy. And I think one of the things that I've learned through like Color and other organizations about this is really looking at the holistic piece of what a woman goes through, where they're at in their life, and what may go ahead and affect that. And I think the education that they've been doing is really about women should have the right to make that decision. It's a personal decision. It doesn't need to be impacted by government, by politicians, or by religion. And I think one of the things is when women understand their rights, their reproductive rights, they can make the right choices in their lives.
Okay. Patty.
Well, women have been thinking about this for a very long time, and I'll say back in '67, Colorado was the first state to legalize abortion, thanks to the work really of former governor, then legislator Richard Lamb, who pushed through. It was limited, but it was the first law really in the country. Now, you would think there have been attempts over the last decades to remove those rights, to put limits on them. Even within the last year, there were ballot measures that they were coming out with signatures to make abortion illegal in Colorado. They didn't get the signatures. People would say that you didn't really need to make a push to enshrine this in the Constitution, that it would be safe in Colorado, but I think people wanted to make this effort because you look at Washington, you look at what's happening, and you're like, you want to enshrine this right in the Constitution. Colorado is not the only state pushing for this, looking at the national level, but I think Colorado is a state that will certainly pass it and realize women do have the right and the necessity of being able to make their own choices.
The initiative would make, as a practical matter, two changes in Colorado law. First of all, it would repeal our existing constitutional provision that prohibits taxpayer funding for abortion. And the second thing it would do, it would eliminate the current statute that when a minor is scheduled for an abortion, the minor's parent or guardian must be notified 48 hours in advance. Not give consent, but just be notified. And there are ways to get out of the notification, such as if the minor tells her doctor that she's been abused or neglected, or pro bono lawyers are there, so the minor can go to a judge, and the judge can say, well, you're more mature enough to make the decision yourself.
Thank you for watching this ballot discussion. The Colorado Inside Out team will tackle one measure every week right up until Election Day. Don't miss an episode so that you are all set to vote on or before November 5th.